Hey everyone, it's Armstrong here from Other Miniatures, and today I'm gonna be finishing this guy. Yeah, like I already showed, he is a Gasland scale, so I'm gonna be able to use him as for a normal game of Gaslands or for Gorka Morka or whatever. Yeah, what I'm starting with, I actually already removed a couple of rivets in here because I want to put tracks on it, and I already have 3D printed tracks, so you know it's gonna save me from having to build new ones. Yeah, and I'm gonna have to do the same on the other side, just remove some of the rivets, glue the tracks, and then do something about the turrets. And I think that I'm gonna be using, of course, 3D printed parts. Like I said, I don't want to use too many of those, yeah, but since this is a kind of a lazy build, I'm gonna add this, and I have one of the machine guns as well. They do not look orky enough in my opinion, so probably I'm gonna add some extra plastic art to it to just orkify it, just a tidbit. Yeah, and we will see what I can come up with, you know, at the end of this video. So I just flip the camera around and go on the table. So yeah, I have this in here, and I'm just thinking, you know, removing a couple of rivets, and those, like I said, are actually sewing pins. Would probably help a lot. Come on. Oh, okay, I did glue them very well. But you know, I don't remember who advised me, you know, to put the magnets on. I have a magnets in here, you know, to actually keep the rivets. Yeah. But I think that I'm gonna need to remove those three, and this one is in here as well. Because I don't want this tank to, at the end of the day, just be a very tall and not very stable build. I did put quite a few hours into putting those rivets in, so now removing them just feels so bad. But no, I wasn't actually 100% sure how I want to proceed with the tracking system or wheels system when I was building this chassis. So, you know, now I've decided, so I have to make the right changes to actually allow it to happen. And of course, I need to sand the back of the tracks just a little bit for a better grip. Okay, and just super glue, because we know that the resin and plastic do not come together very well. And for our friendly neighborhood cat, this is a gel super glue. Yeah. I bought it some time ago and I didn't even realize that it was a gel, or maybe just jellified, you know, being exposed to the heat lately. But yeah, it seems like it is, you know, kind of crooked, but when I put it on the table, it actually feels right. Okay, I don't think that I'm gonna have to do anything about this. Okay, a little bit taller than I was expecting. Oh, I have to sand in here a little bit. So you need to remind yourselves about the next step you want to do, because otherwise you're gonna be like me, just willy-nilly adding stuff, which makes orcish stuff just, you know, brilliant, because that's how they build stuff. But yeah, I just want to, like I said, I went to Warhammer store today. This is a second video that I'm making today, and you know, I wasn't, like I said, I wasn't very impressed. Yeah, I would love to. I think that most of the local gaming stores are actually much more, how to say it, much more open, much more friendly, and, you know, helpful to the new customers. So now I'm just looking at the Gretchens, and I want to pick one to be a driver for this. And I was thinking about this one in the baseball cap, but I think it's gonna be a bad one. This one looks awesome, you know. It is a jet tank, so why not? I think that he gonna work. So just pick that head out. And of course, for a change, I have a fresh blade in my knife, because I did actually change it just yesterday and I didn't do much of anything yesterday. So yeah, this blade is brilliant. And why do I pick only the head? I want to make like a makeshift hatch, so I'm gonna put this in, and I know that it isn't actually perfect octagon. Yeah, but my thinking is orcish stuff isn't perfect at all, so why would they cut perfect octagon, you know? And what I'm doing in here is doing this, what I did with my I don't remember that I don't know if you remember my the Bad Moon Stompa that I built. Yeah, but this is to you know, add the same aesthetic of kind of, you know, roughly cut metal. And it's not a massive amount of work to do, but it's misshaped the plate, so you know, you are easily actually hiding your crimes. Yeah, like I said, it's not a perfect octagon, and this extra of jaggedness to it actually help hide it. Yes, I want to put this one in here, just on this side. I just decided this arbitrarily, and I'm gonna do exactly the same with this one, which is a hatch. Yeah, and just, you know, rough it up a little bit. Like when I was working with the Stompa at some stage, I actually was so sick and tired of cutting those little plates and then, you know, putting rivets on and so on. But instead of cutting those plates, I did actually grab my Dremel and I went with a Dremel over them, just to save myself a lot of time. Because you can see that, you know, even though it is a very small piece of plastic, you have to be careful to actually don't slice your finger. Yeah, and it just was taking a lot of time and again creating a lot of mess on the table. So yeah, and maybe this much. This is gonna be the hinge. And now I'm just thinking, you know, where I want this head, because it's gonna be just head sticking out. And I'm thinking if I'm gonna just maybe cut this a little bit flatter, so it's gonna be just sitting in here and then open hatch behind the head. So yeah, maybe just cut off this chin, and this gonna be a very careful cutting, because we are cutting towards ourselves, and we all know how this ends up quite often for us. Yeah, I know that I have quite good blade control, but at the end of the day, one small slip and your tomb is done for a couple of days. Let's just see, because there is a lot of plastic that after sanding went into the jaw. Okay, I think that that's actually gonna work. So I'm gonna put this somewhere in here. And I'm not using plastic glue for that because, well, first of all, speed. Secondarily, it just, well. And now let's just speed, and you know what I want to say. Well, basically speed. And this plastic actually do not take plastic glue that great. It's taking ages to dry on it. And now just this. It's gonna be standing open behind him. Of course, the only thing that I'm gonna have to do is probably paint the area under the what do you call it? Under the hatch itself black, to show, you know, that there is that you cannot look inside of the tank through this. Just have it like this, and then add a little bit of a blob of super glue in here. Grab our little hinge and attach it. It's not perfect. Normally I would probably add some little details, but it's so tiny that it's actually hard to add extras. Yeah? So now the rocket launcher. In this position it doesn't make sense right now. So I'm actually gonna rotate it. It's gonna be, you know, just sitting in slightly rotated position, not straight. And then I'm gonna have machine gun mounted in here. Yeah? So let's do that. Like I said, it's laziness. I don't know. I don't actually build something for it, you know, some sort of turret, but then it's gonna be very top heavy, and I actually don't want that. It's already getting top heavy because of all of that. And I was this is a grot tank, which is the design with the what do you call it, with the Rhino in mind, you know, like a build somewhat at the shape of Rhino. So yeah, okay, so building wise this is pretty much done. I think that I can add a little bit in behind the head just to fill it up. But generally I think that I'm done with that build. Only thing I have to do now is to paint it. And I'm still trying to figure out what sort of paint job I'm gonna go with. So give me a few minutes, I'm gonna do some priming, and then we're gonna figure out where to go from there. And now that I have it covered in yellow, I was thinking about going with the Imperial Fist. But, you know, since I bought Bad Moon Yellow, why wouldn't I try Bad Moon Yellow on it? Since, you know, I already have a Bad Moon Stompa, why not try to keep it in the same area of the army. So I think about the body, entire body in yellow, the tracks of course metallic, rivets metallic, and I still have to think about weapons. Do I gonna paint them red or something? Let's just try it. Like, I'm not really 100% sure yet about the contrast paints. Yeah, I think that I actually like them. Yeah, but since I never really tried them as they're supposed to be on a spray painted base coat, I'm not, you know, 100% sure you know, how much I like them, you know, and how well they work, because this is, for example, a tank, and since there is a lot of flat surfaces, the paint ain't actually gonna do its job as it should be. It ain't gonna be going into crevices, creating shadows and, you know, lighter areas. But yeah, generally most of the contrast paints that I have right now are quite good. So I'm just learning about them. I'm actually thinking about getting the speed paints from Army Painter. You know, as for someone with my painting skills, you know, anything that can help me is a blessing. So let's go with this. Of course, all of those rails gonna be later on painted with metallic color. And you know, generally I don't like to use a small brush on something like that, but since this is a quite tiny tank, it is roughly the size of, like I said, Hot Wheels car, I feel more comfortable with this size of a brush to don't overdo the paints. So button, I never really bothered, but since it is white button, it's probably better to give it a coat of paint as well. And this is what I just did. You should never do that. You should never put the paintbrush so deeply into the paint, but yeah. Sorry about that. I hope that I'm not getting sick again, because that would be just ridiculous. I just came up with a stomach flu, so yeah. Right. So I think that I have all of the main armor panels painted. Now I think about grabbing a black paint. Where is it? And just base coating everything else that I want to be in black. I know that I had a black paint in here on hand, but I was using it yesterday. But this that I had it in here yesterday doesn't mean nothing to me. It can be anywhere right now. Okay, give me a sec, I'm gonna just find it. Took me about grand total of 3 seconds to actually find the paint after I stopped the recording. It's so usual when you're looking for something, you cannot find it. Like today I was looking for a hole punch because I wanted to make a couple of holes in a new belt, because it turned out that I bought a too long belt, which, wow, surprise for me, because I usually have everything too short. Yeah, but I got a too long belt and I wanted to punch a couple of extra holes in it, and I couldn't find for the life of me a hole punch. And I just made the holes using a X-Acto blade. And now that I came back from Dublin, yeah, it is already a late hour, but I came back from Dublin. I sit down on my behind my desk, and I found the hole punch. The first thing that actually, you know, I noticed was the hole punch. It's just, you know, the thing, you know, with the inanimate objects, you know, how freaking vengeful they are. Yeah, I would say that they are vengeful, maybe a little bit naughty. Yeah, just basically hiding from you when you need them, and then when you do not need them anymore, they are just up in your face every single time. The same with my scissors. You know how many times I'm like, oh, I don't know where I have my scissors. After I finish recording, I always find my scissors pretty much straight away. Yeah. Inanimate objects just hate me sometimes. But what can we do? That's the life for us. And of course, you know, since this is a, what do you call it, contrast paint, it's taking its sweet time to dry, because contrast paints are designed to actually flow by themselves. So I have to give it extra couple of minutes, or blast from a hairdryer. So I'm thinking that blast from a hairdryer probably gonna be my choice. In a few seconds, I just want to have at least this base coat done. Yeah, I'm just gonna base coat the black, you know, on everything else that I want to be black, and I'm gonna be right back. Alright, so I just use the hairdryer to improve the speed of drying, and now let's just get the other one, and let's just try to do some highlights on those metallic bits. Yeah. And again, you know me, big brush works the best. And it is just the thing, you know, that if you can use the big brush, use it, because especially, you know, when you are painting a horde army like orcs, yeah, and they tend to, when I was younger, paint a big batches of models, and I was always painting with the tiniest possible brush that I could get. It was always a miserable experience. And then I watched a couple of YouTube videos once I grew up, and I discovered that big brushes helps you a lot. So there you have it, how you can see, you know, especially when you look at the gun, you can see how much this picked up to the brighter metallic. Yeah. And now, ooh, this guy. You see the little driver? I never actually painted red skin on anything. So I'm a little bit, you know, unfamiliar with what to do next, but I'm gonna try to use some contrast yellow just to highlight the top of his head and his nose. Because, well, it's hard to screw up, you know, a paint job that you don't have idea how it should look. Yeah, so just, you know, highlighting of a, you know, the muscle fibers in here, top of the ears, a little bit on top of the head, top of the nose. And yeah, I think that I can leave that. Now I think that the next color in my palette should be purple. Not just purple ink. Like, I wasn't really prepared for that. Shade Drukari Violet, is that an ink as well? It feels like it. But yeah, what I want to do, yeah, is just the inside of the mouth. I want to make it purple. Okay, I know what to do. I will do this the other way around. White color first and then purple. Oh, I just dropped a paint on the table. How you can see, I'm very well organized. Yeah. So white paint just on the inside of the mouth, so I can have the teeth and the tongue hit at the same time. And I probably should use magnifier for that. But yeah, let's just ignore the fact that I actually have one. Yeah, I'm gonna leave it like that. And now, do I have any brown on me? Oh, Skeletal Horde. I was using this. This is a contrast paint, yeah? And I was using this for my Sisters of Battle as an armor color. And to be completely honest, I'm not against it. I like the color. I think that it could work. Are there straps? Yes, there are straps around his head. So just give it a little bit of that. Add it here. I know that it's barely visible because, you know, contrasts are very good at white background, but not very good at any other. Yeah. So I have this, and now, do I have any of my orange colors? Believe me, being messy painter and messy builder and generally messy is not great. There it is. I knew that I have it in here. You know, my blazing orange, yeah, the typical color for painting a troll slayer's hair. Yeah, it's probably the best color to paint troll slayer's hair. So let's go inside and do the jet engine, then the exhaust of it in a orange. Alright, I think that this part is done. And now back to metallic. Yeah, this time I'm gonna use the iron breaker and the small brush. Yeah, and this is gonna be a nightmare job because I'm picking up the rivets. Yeah, so it's just a fun work. When you build a model with a lot of rivets and you want them to be actually different color than the body of the model, it's a lot of just applying, you know, little pin drops of paint. And I know that the people who do this most are actually scale modelers, because when they build like you know, they to scale helicopters and stuff, and they do replace like every single rivet with their own rivets. Yeah, some of them have like thousands of them. So I really, you know, do not envy that, but you know, the models then look extremely well. So yeah, those people definitely know what they are doing. So yeah, I do watch, you know, from time to time scale modelers doing their job, and I try to learn some tricks from them, because even though we are in very similar hobby, yeah, I would say that they are in the class of their own in like 90% of cases, just when it comes to realism of the situation and, you know, how to make the model actually look much better. But yeah, how you can see on this tiny one, it doesn't take that long to actually pick out every single one of the rivets. It's not like my Gorka that took hours to finish. This is a very quick paint job on a very small model. And I do, you know, I'm really happy that with this, you know, 40k build, you really can go to this tiny scale and still have a lot of fun with it. Yeah. Alright, and now let's go for the Argrax Earth shade. Oh, and you know, everyone who collects miniatures know this shade, because this is probably one of the best washes. And the Noon Oil and the Argrax Earth shade. And I know that I usually do not do as much on the model as I'm doing it here. Yeah, but I wanted to put just tiny bit of extra work into it. So those little streaks, you know, they may not make a difference really. Yeah, but I gonna know that they are streaks, you know, they're showing water damage to the model. Yeah, from the rivet. So I'm gonna be happy about that. And what else I want to do? Oh, the tips of the rockets. Again, back to contrasts. It's not like it makes a difference if this is a contrast or not, but I just want to tip them with the red paint, so those rockets gonna be, you know, flying faster. As this is orc build, we know that red is fast, blue is safe, purple is invisible or sneaky. Alright, so we have this done. And I have this paint just in here. And teeth. So let's just do a little bit of the edge in here. With the teeth. On this goblin. Yeah. I'm probably gonna come back to him at some stage of my life. I still don't know when, but I have him, you know, somewhat painted. Maybe once I improve the skill of painting, what do you call them? Of painting skin and stuff like that, you know. Alright. So now the purple inside of the mouth. And it can go in between teeth, as well in here, a little bit on the cheeks, to make them go into the shadow even more. Alright, purple done. And now if I only have an extremely bright blue or green. No. Oh, Oh, there it is. I knew that I have scorpion green somewhere. Oh, it's gonna need thinning. So let's get on it. I'll just toss some airbrush thinner into it. Ah, this is gonna be a long video. I need to put more time into editing videos. But yeah, and now to make him look properly, yeah. I think that green eyes gonna look nice. Well, green visors on this gonna look nice on a crazy red Gretchen. Yeah, and is the orange dry? Yes, it is. So now I think that I'm gonna do one more step that I never really planned, but I saw this on one video when I don't remember who was that, but he was working on a scorch marks on the weapon, and it actually turned out very well. So yeah, let's just darken the... Oh, okay, this is too stiff. Oh, maybe my usual, slave brush that always works for crazy stuff. So I work some black paint into it, and now just trying to slowly apply not too much of it on the back of it. I know that it's gonna ruin the the rivets and everything, but it's gonna give a nice scorched effect on this. Yeah, I think that that's just good enough. And let me just have a quick 180. Oh, now I know what I miss. Yeah. Toom, toom, toom. This one isn't dirty enough yet. So now, this is my airbrush thinner. It's not a glue, it's not any substance, Basically, people tend to do this with alcohol. Now I just grab the airbrush thinner and help apply the mod to the trucks. Yeah. So yeah, I went a little bit overboard, but yeah, it's me. So after it's dry, it's actually some of it gonna come off. Yeah, but I don't think that Orcs vehicles should be very clean. So the front in here, and that's this all dirtying up. It's all because of you guys, because of how much Gaslands I did. I actually started enjoying that, so I'm blaming all of that on you guys. Yeah, it's all you. It's not me, it wasn't my idea from the beginning, it was you, showing me weathering and stuff, yeah, so I blame all of that on you guys. And I have some yellow in here, why not? Just mix it up, add it to the trucks, add it to the weathering powders. Oh, too much of the water, or in that case dirt. There we go. And yeah, I think that that's done. So let's just throw it on the spin table and see the final effect. So now that we have him, somewhat prepared, I still see, white spots that I don't like. Yeah, but I'm gonna get into them in a few minutes. I'm grabbing one of the new paints that I bought. This one is a Iron Warriors. It's the darker of the two. And of course, we are wasting the expensive paint on top of the paper towel. Yeah. Because this is what we do. And now, just quick dry brush over all of the metal surfaces. It's not as dry as usually because, well, I want this to be quite heavy. And of course in some places I have to be a little bit more careful. In the others I shouldn't be more careful. Yeah. And of course you can hear my wife again screaming during my video. Yeah. So you know, she's very camera shy, but when it comes to screaming, she is okay with that. Yeah. So let's just get and finish this part of the dry brushing. Yeah. And this is quite easy. Like always, you know, this is the simplest process, and you know, you may notice that I actually added a little bit of, added one ball of the green stuff just behind him and two small balls on the side, just to represent his arms sticking out. Yeah, but that was the entire sculpting process. There was not real sculpting involved in it. Yeah, it was just me doing what I do best, so being a lazy painter. Yeah, and I know that being a lazy painter pays off for me in most cases. So, you know, like most of the people would probably look for a smaller brush to do this stuff, but not me. Big brush, and you know, just carry on. Because usually you can do 90% of the job with a big brush, and then you have to think about small one. Yeah. But okay, we have this, and the paint is still a little bit wet, but I'm assuming that we can. Oh wow, there's still a lot of paint in that brush. So I have a shade Null Oil, and of course, since these are orcs, I want to dirty this model up. Yeah, so let's get him all dirty. Yeah, so including the little Gretchen sitting in there. Yeah, like I said, you know, normally my wife is very camera shy, but now she's, you know, just very, very loud. Yeah, but I'm assuming that she doesn't know that I'm recording video because she is on a rated battleground with her guild, so you know, she might be completely turned off to the reality. Okay, now I have to give it a chance to dry, and then I can come back and do a little bit more of the weathering, but mainly I did that, you know, to dirty up the yellow, to have the black paint in the crevices. Yeah, next step gonna be in here the iron breaker to brighten up the metallics again. But now this requires drying time, so let's do it. And here it is completed. Yeah, it looks weird on this camera in this light, but I'm actually quite happy with it. It's a fairly simple, well, not very simple, it included a lot of green stuffing and other stuff, but generally, you know, it's just a box that I glued other stuff to. Yeah, so pretty much I think that everyone can do it. Yeah, it's not a level of complication of Golden Demon or something like that. And to see, you know, to tell you that it really fits into Gaslands. Yeah, look at that, comparing to my previous build. Yeah, it's actually shorter than the jet car that I built. Yeah, and it's a little bit taller, but not much. So now if you only build a Grecian army, you can actually truly play with it in Gaslands. So that's where this entire idea of Gaslands in space comes to me. Yeah, like I said, Gorka Morka is a setting in Warhammer universe, and it kind of really works for Gaslands. So all of you Gaslanders, if you want to have some more fun, you know, with something that you never actually experienced before, maybe, yeah, then please join me. But for now, if you like this video, please rate, comment, subscribe, share with your friends and frenemies and whoever else. Yeah, and everybody have a great day and take care. Bye.